I remember the day it all started like it was etched into the red dirt of the Arizona Badlands. I'd been with West Ridge Logistics for 9 grueling years, hauling freight across the vast stretches of the American West, from the sun-baked valleys of California to the windy plains of New Mexico. My name's Jack Harlan, and back then, I thought loyalty meant something in this rugged corner of the world where folks still shook hands on deals and trusted their word like gospel. But when my boss,
Harlan Norilaschen,
thank God, slid that envelope across his cluttered desk in our Phoenix warehouse office, something inside me cracked like dry earth under a summer storm. He leaned back in his creaky swivel chair, the kind you'd find in any small-town feed store, and flashed that crooked grin of his. "Jack,
buddy,
this is us looking out for ya. Savon you a bundle on Uncle Sam's cut." His voice had that false warmth, like a campfire that's all smoke and no heat. I stared at the envelope, my calloused hands hovering over it. Inside wasn't my usual W-2, the one that proved I was part of the team, with benefits and protections baked in like the rules of a fair rodeo.
No.
This was a 1099 misc, treating me like some freelance drifter who just wandered in off the highway for a quick gig. My mind raced, a whirlwind of confusion and betrayal swirling like dust devils on the open range. How could this be? I thought, my heart pounding against my ribs. I've given everything to this place, missed my boys' Little League games, skipped anniversaries with Sarah because a shipment got delayed by a flash flood in the Mojave. And now they reduce me to this? I didn't yell or storm out. That's not how we handle things out here. We endure. We plan. We strike when the iron's hot. But inside, the anger simmered. A slow burn that questioned every late-night shift I'd pulled, every time I'd fixed a broken truck axle under the blazing sun, without complaint. I forced a nod, pocketed the form, and stepped out into the glaring Arizona daylight. The warehouse buzzed around me, forklifts beeping, crates stacking like precarious maces, but I felt isolated, like a lone coyote cut from the pack. That night, back at our modest ranch-style home on the outskirts of Phoenix, I sat at the kitchen table under the hum of the fluorescent light, staring at the 1099. Sarah, my wife of 12 years, brewed coffee and slid a mug my way. "What's eatin' you, Jack?" she asked, her voice soft but probing, the way it got when she sensed a storm brewing in my soul. I explained it all, the misclassification, how it stripped away my health insurance just when our son,
Tommy,
was dealing with asthma flares from the desert dust. No more 401k matching. No overtime pay protections under the Fair Labor Standards Act. Legally, I was still doing the same job, coordinating routes through treacherous mountain passes, managing teams of drivers who braved wildfires and monsoons. But on paper, I was an independent contractor, liable for self-employment taxes that could eat up thousands I'd never budgeted for. Am I really just a number to them? My thoughts tormented me. After all these years, building this company from a 2-truck operation to a regional powerhouse, they pull this? It's not just unfair, it's illegal. A clear violation of IRS rules on employee classification. The IRS guidelines flooded my mind as I pored over them online. Behavioral control, like how they dictated my hours and methods. Financial control, since I didn't invoice or set rates. The relationship, permanent and integral, not temporary. I wasn't running my own outfit. I was the backbone of theirs. But admitting that meant confronting the betrayal head-on, and it gnawed at me deeper than any physical wound. What if I fight back and lose everything? Sarah and Tommy depend on me. But staying silent, that'd make me complicit in my own undoing. I didn't sleep much that night, my mind a battlefield of doubt and resolve. By dawn, as the first light painted the saguaro cacti outside our window in golden hues, I'd made a decision. I printed emails from Harlan, including that smug one about saving you from taxes, and filed them away. Redundancy was key in logistics and in life. This wasn't revenge yet, it was survival. But the seed of justice had taken root. And in the arid West, even the smallest seed could grow into something unbreakable. As days turned to weeks, the weight pressed heavier. At work, nothing changed on the surface. I still clocked in at 6 a.m., still wore the company-issued vest with the West Ridge logo faded from too many washes. But inside, every glance from Harlan felt like a knife twist. He clapped me on the back during a team huddle, calling me one of the family, and I had to swallow the bile rising in my throat. Family? Families don't cheat each other out of security. My inner turmoil grew. A constant whisper, "You're better than this."
Jack.
Fight for what's right,
Not just for you.
but for everyone who's been stepped on. One evening, after a brutal day rerouting shipments around a rockslide in the Rockies, I confided in my brother, Mike, over beers at our local dive bar in Tempe. Mike, a mechanic with grease under his nails and wisdom in his eyes, listened quietly. "Sounds like they're skirting the law."
Bro.
"You gotta report it, Department of Labor, IRS. Don't let 'em turn you into a ghost worker." His words echoed my fears, amplifying the conflict raging within. What if it backfires? What if I'm blackballed in this tight-knit industry? But the alternative, letting injustice fester, felt like poison in my veins. I emailed Harlan for clarification, keeping it professional. "Is this a permanent shift? Any contractor agreement I should sign?" His reply came quick. "Kurt, relax.
Jack.
It's just smarter this way." Still family. That word again, family. It ignited a fire in my chest, burning away the hesitation. That night, alone in my study with the desert wind howling outside, I navigated the Arizona Department of Economic Security website. My fingers trembled as I filled out the form, no formal agreement. Set hours under supervision. Company equipment provided. Misclassified? Absolutely. Clicking submit felt like releasing a breath I'd held for years.
No fanfare.
Just a confirmation screen. But inside, the storm raged on, relief mixed with terror. Have I just sealed my fate? Or started something bigger? The humane part of me hoped for resolution without destruction, a chance for Harlan to see the error of his ways. Little did I know, this was just the beginning of a reckoning that would test us all. The waiting was the hardest part, like watching storm clouds gather over the Grand Canyon, knowing lightning could strike any moment. 3 weeks dragged by in the sweltering Phoenix heat, and on the surface, West Ridge logistics hummed along, trucks rolling out at dawn, drivers griping about fuel prices over crackling radios. But I felt the shift, subtle as a change in the wind. Kim from payroll, usually chatty about her weekend hikes in the Superstition Mountains, now avoided my gaze like I carried bad luck. Whispers rippled through the break room. Heard they're digging into old time cards, 5 years back. My mind was a constant churn, doubts assaulting me like relentless sandstorms. What if nothing comes of it? What if they trace it back and fire me first? Sarah's worried enough about Tommy's doctor bills. I replayed every decision, questioning my motives. Was this revenge or justice? The line blurred in my sleepless nights, where I'd lie staring at the ceiling fan, imagining Harlan's face when the truth hit. He's got a family too, wife.
Kids.
Am I destroying lives over a form? But then I'd remember the 1099 sting, the legal clarity I'd uncovered, under the FLSA and IRS SS 8 determination. I was an employee, entitled to protections. Misclassification wasn't a gray area, it was fraud, potentially costing the company fines up to $1,000 per violation per worker. HR called a mandatory meeting in the stuffy conference room, the AC struggling against the desert blaze. Harlan stood at the front, sweat beading on his forehead, his voice forced casual. Just a routine audit.
Folks.
Keepin' our ducks in a row. But his eyes darted, betraying the panic I sensed bubbling beneath. As he spoke, my thoughts screamed, this is because of me. Because I wouldn't stay silent. Guilt gnawed at me, humane guilt. The kind that wonders if dialogue could have fixed it instead of bureaucracy. But dialogue? Harlan had dismissed my email like dust on his boots. After the meeting,
Luis,
one of the veteran drivers with a thick New Mexico accent, pulled me aside by the loading docks. Boss man's lookin' jittery. You hear about the state pokin' around training logs. I nodded vaguely, my heart racing. Told him you trained me.
Jack.
You're the best we got. His words hit like a gut punch, pride mixed with fear. These guys rely on this place. If it crumbles, am I the villain? Inner conflict tore at me deeper now, emotions swelling like a monsoon flood. I wanted fairness, not fallout. A lesson in treating people right without total ruin. Vendors started delaying shipments next. Invoices stamped, hold, pending review. I smoothed it over as best I could, rerouting loads through back roads to avoid delays. But the strain showed. One supplier, a family-run outfit from Utah, called personally. Jack, hate to do this, but credit's frozen. State's got Norbridge, wait. West Ridge, under the microscope. Hearing it out loud amplified my turmoil. This is spreading, affecting innocents. But they started it, cutting corners to pad profits while we scraped by. Suits arrived soon after, crisp lawyers from a Tucson firm, clipboards in hand, pulling staff into side rooms for clarifications. I wasn't called, but the air thickened with tension.
Donnie,
a young forklift operator fresh from Wyoming, muttered to me later. They're a skin, about who sets schedules, provides tools. Feels like a setup. My mind whirled, evidence stacking up, my emails, their policies. But what if Harlan admits fault? Could we salvage this humanely? That night, Sarah confronted me as I paced our living room, the scent of her homemade chili lingering from dinner. Jack, you're eating yourself alive.
Talk to me.
Tears welled in her eyes, mirroring my own suppressed ones. I broke down, confessing the report, the betrayal's depth. It's not just money.
Sarah.
It's respect. They treated me like hired help after all I've given. She held me, her embrace a anchor in the emotional gale. Family. That's what matters. Maybe this forces Harlan to see that too. But the unraveling accelerated. An internal memo leaked, quoting Harlan's email, flexibility saves costs, keep M off full payroll. Reading it on a forwarded chain, my anger surged anew, but tempered by sorrow. He knew it was wrong, yet he did it. The humane spark in me flickered, perhaps redemption lay in exposure. A light lesson on integrity over greed. By month's end, the first back pay notices trickled in. Rhonda, a retired dispatcher I'd mentored, texted, "State says I'm owed over 10 grand. You think this is real?" Attached was her letter, official seal gleaming. Relief washed over me.
But so did profound sadness.
People are getting what's due. But at what cost? My emotions deepened. A well of empathy for all involved. Even Harlan. This wasn't joy, it was a heavy, human reckoning, pushing me to reflect on forgiveness amid justice. The emotional tide rose higher as the audit deepened, pulling me under waves of regret and resolve that crashed relentlessly. By now, the warehouse felt like a ghost town in the making, echoes of clanging crates mocking the stability I'd once known. Harlan's face had aged a decade in weeks, lines etched deeper than the canyons of Sedona, eyes hollow as abandoned mines. I caught him staring at me during a shift change, and for a split second, our gazes locked. Does he know? Does he see the hurt he caused? My inner voice pleaded for understanding. A humane bridge across the chasm of betrayal. Payroll glitches hit next. Checks delayed under the guise of system upgrades. Whispers turned to outright grumbles. They're bleedin' us dry while fixin' their mess. My mind tormented me with visions of families struggling, Luis with his kids in school, Donnie sending money home to his folks in the Rockies. This is my doing. Yet not. I sought clarity, not chaos. The legal clarity sharpened. The state invoked Arizona revised statutes on wage claims, potentially triggering IRS audits under Section 3509 for employer liability. Fines could mount to 1.5% of wages plus interest.
A cascada ide un uitingli un leasha.
A crisis meeting sealed the shift. Harlan, flanked by lawyers in starched shirts ill-suited to the desert heat, addressed us in the break room. Tough times? Team. States reviewing classifications, nothing personal. But his voice cracked. Betraying the lie. Spotting his folder, I glimpsed the quoted email. Savon you from taxes. My heart ached. Anger at his arrogance.
Pity for his fall.
He's human too. Flawed like me. Maybe this teaches us all to value each other more. Post-meeting, Sarah and I argued for the first time in months. Jack. This is tearing you apart, she said, voice trembling as Tommy played outside. You did right. But holding this guilt. It's killing you. Tears streamed down my face. Emotions raw and unchecked. I wanted justice, not destruction. What if Harlan loses everything? His family's innocent. Her hug grounded me. But the inner storm raged fiercer. A maelstrom of compassion clashing with indignation.
Vendors fled en masse.
Shipments piling up like tumbleweeds in a windstorm. I negotiated extensions. My voice steady, but soul-fracturing. One call from a longtime partner in Nevada. Jack. We're pulling out. Too risky with the liens. Hanging up. I collapsed into a chair. Head in hands. Lives upended because I couldn't stay quiet. But silence would have eroded my spirit. The humane lesson emerged dimly. Fairness demands courage. But mercy tempers it. Then came the bombshell email chain. Exposed in the audit. Harlan to a CFO. Gray area, reclassified to cut costs. They won't notice. Reading it. Sorrow overwhelmed anger. He gambled with our lives for profit.
Yet.
I pity him, trapped in his own greed. Emotions peaked. A profound sadness for the broken trust, urging me toward forgiveness. Back pay flooded in. Luis beamed. Jack. This covers my girl's braces. Joy mingled with my tears. But the cost weighed heavy. The company teetered. Asset freezes looming under state tax delinquency notices. I watched from afar. Heart heavy with empathy. This isn't victory. It's a mirror. Showing us our shared humanity. Harlan cornered me one dusk by the trucks. Jack. If it's you. Why? His eyes pleaded. Vulnerability cracking his facade. I hesitated. Emotion surging. It wasn't personal. Just wanted what's fair. He nodded.
Defeated.
In that moment, the drama humanized us both, flawed men seeking redemption. Emotions drown me now. relentless flood deeper than the Colorado River in spring melt, carrying grief, hope, and a fragile spark of healing. West Ridge staggered under the weight, crisis lawyers descending like vultures on a fallen steer. I heard fragments from eavesdroppers. Bankrupted us, one hissed to Harlan, whose empire crumbled like ancient pueblos. My soul wept for the man I'd once respected, imagining his nights tormented, as mine were. We built this together, now it's ash. But perhaps from ash, something better grows. Layoff rumors swirled, departments gutted to stem the hemorrhage. I confided in Mike over a sunset drive through the Sonoran Desert. Bro, the guilt's crushing me. Families losing jobs because I spoke up. His reply pierced. You saved more than you hurt, fair pay? Real protections. Yet my heart bled. Envisioning Harlan's wife packing boxes, kids confused. Humanity demands we see the pain we cause. Even justified. The final memo dropped like a thunderclap. Restructuring, 60% reductions effective now. Chaos erupted, tears, shouts. Desks cleared in frenzy. Harlan stepped aside, a euphemism for disgrace. Blame flew in circles. But I felt only profound sorrow. This ends an era, but teaches empathy over exploitation. A state letter arrived. Your report led to enforcement. Back pay distributed. Classifications corrected.
No traiem.
Just quiet affirmation amid the emotional wreckage. I wept alone, releasing years of suppressed hurt. Harlan called unexpectedly. Jack, meet me at the old trailhead? We met under starlit skies, the West's vastness humbling us. I screwed up, he admitted, voice breaking. Greed blinded me, forgot we're all just trying to make it. Tears flowed as I shared my pain. It hurt. Feelin' disposable after givin' my all. We talked hours, forging understanding from ruins. The emotional crescendo peaked. A symphony of heartbreak and renewal that reshaped my very core, leaving me forever changed in the forgiving light of the American West. West Ridge filed for Chapter 11, a husk of its former self, but not without seeds of hope. Former colleagues messaged gratitude. Your stand got me back pay, saved my home. Yet the sorrow lingered. A deep ache for lost camaraderie, amplified by visions of Harlan's humbled family. I transitioned to a compliance role at an ethical firm in Tucson, advising on fair practices. Each day, I channeled the pain into prevention. A light lesson etched in my soul: treat workers as kin, not commodities. For injustice erodes us all. Harlan and I reconciled over coffee months later. Jack, you taught me humility, he said, eyes misty. Rebuilding now. Doing it right. I nodded, tears falling. We all deserve second chances. Our embrace sealed it, a humane ending, where forgiveness triumphed over vengeance. Tommy's asthma improved with stable benefits. Sarah and I grew closer through the storm. The West's endless horizons reminded me, from betrayal blooms growth. If we choose empathy. That 1099? A catalyst for change, proving one voice can echo justice, softly mending what's broken.